Hey, bud. Grayson starts that game off 7 of 7 from the three-point line. I've seen Brooke hit a lot of threes. I've seen a lot of people hit a lot of threes in the game, but it didn't really felt like I didn't think any of them were forced. What does it kind of say about Grayson or maybe this team that he can have a first half like that and it doesn't feel that way?
Yeah, we've talked about our shooting and the depth of our shooting, and when you have multiple guys that can get hot and throw Bobby into that mix, it's an invaluable thing, and you don't know which night it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and as you mentioned, very few forced, and the ball moved. I thought the ball movement was great, the execution. We got into a really good rhythm offensively, and he benefited from that, and he delivered.
That being said, I believe there's an ATO or two in there to get Grayson a look. As a coach, do you feel any sort of kind of responsibility, like, hey, our guy's going, let's try to see if we can keep that rolling?
Yeah, a little bit, the guys executed, and, sometimes you just try and keep feeding them, and I think the guys found them, and, so we tried to find them some too.
I know a couple other players got a turn on Luka, but Drew, for the most part, looked like had that call. Only the 5th time Luka hasn't hit 30. I don't know if you consider what you consider a great stat line or not, but I mean, what can you speak to Drew's defensive effort there just to make Luka work and have to expend that effort? Yeah, no,
obviously Doncic is one of the elite players in our league, and it takes a lot. To defend him and the way they use him and their creativity, their spacing. For us to have, an elite defender like Drew to, take that challenge, and he did. He had him a ton. West took him, for a couple of stretches. I think the 6 turnovers, 50% from the field, and, to 9 free throws, maybe we could keep him to a few less. But overall, I think that's a pretty strong defensive effort by us. But it's rare you can do that to Doncic.
I know Drew is a two-way player, and you count on him for offense. But even on a night like tonight, when he does have that draw for most of his minutes, to then also still make to score. How important is that, and maybe how underrated is that to be able to do both for that long?
No, especially with his size and with his physicality, to be a two-way player, to be a two-way point guard, that's why, we love having him. I think, the whole league just has a ton of respect for him. You hear, opponent players, opponent coaches talk about him. There's a level of respect for him. And I think it is the two-way element, that makes him special. And, just another night where, we're fortunate to have him, lead our defense, be at the top of our defense.
They got it. You never trailed, but they got it down to 1, I think, midway through the third, and you scored 10 straight, got it up to 19 before long. Just how were you able to respond and kind of break it back open there when it looked like they were coming back?
Yeah, it's certainly they made a great, kind of run at us, and for us to respond, I don't know exactly, to tell you how or what happened, but I just do like that, we were able to kind of take that punch, gather ourselves, and then take it back out to, if it was 19, take it to 19. That, when they get on a roll, sometimes it can be hard to kind of stem that or stop that. And so for our guys to find a way to do it, we'll look at the film, but certainly it's one of the things we talked about in the locker room to, kind of take a punch, steady ourselves, and then finish it. Tonight was one of those nights we needed to do that.
Coach, you've talked about consistency with Brook Lopez this season, but what do you think of the way Bobby off the bench is averaging a double-double this season, and how do you think he showed consistency in that aspect?
Yeah, he brings this, great focus, an edge, his energy. He's going to get boards. I think, the fact that he's, averaging 10 rebounds is, that's impressive. He has a knack for putting the ball in the basket, so We kind of, expect that. He scores a lot, but, to get 10 boards a night, it's not easy in this league. So it takes, great effort and consistency, night after night after night.
And going back to Grayson, I know you talked about him offensively, but did you see anything in particular defensively? He had 2 steals, and I just saw a lot of activity, especially in that first half.
Yeah, no, I think, he was in the right place a lot of times. I thought he had some deflections, some, hands on balls around the basket. He was just in a good place on both ends of the court.
I don't have the numbers totally for me, but I'm going to guess your defensive rating probably ends up being around 120 tonight. One of the worst games defensively for the season, but sometimes the Mavs just kind of do that to you. The offense hasn't been totally right the whole season. What's kind of your thought process from what you saw from the offense tonight to close it out? I know you want to do it defensively, but to be able to do it offensively.
Yeah, I think, versatility is a word that, can be used in a lot of different moments, a lot of different situations, and I think some nights you need to be able to win different ways. And, our defense, it wasn't for lack of effort, but, as you alluded to, offensively, they can really spread you out. They can really be a very, very efficient team. And you got to be able to score and counter that. And, it's not, probably our nature, my nature. But I think to be a balanced team and be good on both ends of the court is, really the ultimate goal is, can you do it on both ends and do whatever it takes to win night in and night out.
What do you like about the offense?
I thought the ball movement, would we finish with 28 assists? I thought the ball moved. Really in the first half, it felt like we were in a really good rhythm and guys were just, the ball was popping around the court. I think it starts with Giannis getting us into good actions, Giannis getting into, pick and rolls and handoffs and different things like that. So I think, just to me, the ball movement kind of stood out. The way it popped and kind of moved quickly stood out to me. All right, thanks.
Hey, Grayson. You've kind of been in a rhythm here these last 4 or 5 games, but just to start 7 for 7, what were you seeing? What did it feel like in terms of getting off that kind of start?
What was I seeing? The hoop looked huge. I got a couple of good catch and shoot looks. And then Coach Bud drew up a few plays. Got a couple and few other kickouts. Like it was got a bunch of threes in a bunch of different ways. So it felt really good. Every shot felt really good and looked good seeing it go in too.
You've been doing this your whole life, but is it hard sometimes to stay within the offense or stay within yourself when you do start a game that way? You know what I mean? Instead of maybe forcing shots or even to a degree, your teammates staying within offense and not trying to force things to you.
Yeah, I think a little bit, but I think that honestly, the first half, I don't think anybody was trying to force it to me. I don't think any of the shots I took were necessarily heat check shots. There were a few that I got that I made the extra pass, like good to great. So I feel like that's the important thing, and that's probably why I went 7 for 7 instead of 7 for 10 in the first half, right? Just because I kept in my mind, just kept trying to play the right way and take the same shots I normally would.
How do you have that type of restraint? If I got to go, I'm gonna probably take some bad ones.
Yeah, honestly, I'm looking at this and I'm 95% sure my career high is 7 threes, and I wish I would have taken about 3 more in the second half to get it. But in our offense, like I've talked about this a lot, like it comes in bunches for me a lot of times. So I could go a full rotation without getting it, and then boom, it's 4 or 5 shots. And the whole first half was a bunch for me today. And thankfully I was able to knock them down. So, but that doesn't necessarily change in my mind, like, playing the wrong way, like still driving and kicking and looking for guys and trying to get the best shot for us as an offense possible.
You talk about the hoop looking huge. When you're having a night like this, I mean, how soon could you tell this was your night? Could you notice even in pregame warmups? Was it the first shot, or do you kind of have to get into a rhythm, or how did you kind of realize this was going to be your night?
Yeah, I don't. If there's anybody out there that can tell in warmups, that's crazy to me because, like today, I think my 10-minute shooting time pregame took like 13 or 14 minutes because I was missing so much. And then the last game, I made almost every shot pregame, and I think I don't know, like 1 for 6 last game. So that never means anything to me. Um, and like I said, like I didn't really feel like I wasn't seeking out. Like, there was one shot off a screen that I took that was maybe a little quicker of a shot than I normally would have taken. But I felt like I just got a lot of good looks like within our offense, and I was moving around trying to find the next open three. And so, I mean, to answer your question, like I mean, after you hit 3 in a row, you probably feel like you got it going, and then it keeps going to 7, then you feel like you really got it going.
This year, you guys have tried to do it defensively. Offense really hasn't clicked. Certainly not like it did tonight. What did you like about what you guys are doing offensively, or what did you feel like was working in a way that really hasn't this whole season?
We move the ball around really well. Like we have 6 guys here in double figures. A lot of guys were getting good looks. I feel like there was a lot of, our first action didn't work. We got into a good amount of drive and kick where it was 1, 2, 3 guys driving and kicking the ball and swinging around. And so I feel like that for our like secondary offense, like if our whatever we're trying to do, that possession doesn't work, I think what's next is what we're improving at. And there were a couple times where like me or Javon got into an ISO, like Javon had a few ISOs, or me and him playing together instead of, going into one-on-one stuff. So I think there's a lot of stuff we can do even with 6, 7 seconds on the clock when stuff breaks down. I think we did a lot of that tonight, actions where the guards running up and slipping out and just continuing to get some movement after the play breaks down. Thank you.